to, change the meeting at all and adhere to the budget process and have a budget hearing. We'll be pushing into October. So, with the dates, we're gonna publish the revised budget in the paper, and we're gonna present it to council at the planning session. We're gonna make it available to the public as well.
In October planning session.
The code specifies a really strict timeline about when we have to have things done. And it's, OCGA 3681.5, which requires that we have to have public hearings and have to have a very strict schedule. And I kind of hit the highlights of that section as to why we're having to do this. On the date, it requires, first of all, the proposed budget be submitted to the governing authority for review prior to the enactment. That is the starting point. That's the trigger that starts everything. We can't do that until the revised budget is complete. Kelly McRae is sick right now, very sick, and we really need her input on this to finish it. But if she is not back by Thursday, we will have to do the best we can without her, because we can't sit in limbo forever. So on the day that the proposed budget is submitted, the code requires that a copy of the budget be placed, the proposed budget, not the budget that exists already, the adopted budget, which is already been produced, the revised budget, be placed in a public location which is convenient to the residents of the government. Means we'll have a copy, we'll have multiple copies, really, because in case more than one person is interested in it, we'll have multiple copies at a public location. And a copy will also be made available upon request to the news media. And then a statement that advises the public of the availability of the proposed budget has to be published in the newspaper. But this is the kicker. The code requires that the notice shall be published during the week in which the proposed budget is submitted to the governing authority. That means that we can't submit the budget on the 28th. We have to submit it the following week, because it's got to run in the paper the same week. The code requires it to run in the paper the same week. And I wish it didn't. I wish we could just do it on the 28th, but we can't. We're not going to violate the code knowingly and do that. The statement that's going to run in the paper is very much like, not identical to, but very much like the statement that has run in the paper about the millage rollback. The code also requires that at least 1 week prior to the hearing in which we vote on the adoption of the budget, that the public hearing has to be held. So the public hearing has to be held a week before we have the final vote. So that puts us out even farther than 28. So I hate to be bearer of bad news.
Yeah, we have to propose dates, you know.
We don't have a long presence, so we can't. But that's where we are.
So we're not gonna make our deadline for the new tax. We're gonna keep the millage at 6.0803.
No, we're,
806.
no, what I'm saying is, you either do that, or you could, go to the hearing.
But what?
Maybe I couldn't hear you. Can you speak up? What you said?
I said that, or we can go through these hearings.
Where?
Through the hearings,
Didn't hear.
through the public process with the amended budget.
Are we gonna be able to get the extension from the state as far as the millage rate? If you're pushing in October, that's past the deadline for the millage rate.
We're not the only ones. There's other cities. We'll just be over the whole county of it. I have a question. What's the actual deadline for all of that to be first of October? And there's a process for filing an extension for this type of situation? once it passes, it's just for a year, alright? So when you get the extension, if you get an extension, then when would be your deadline is always October 1st?
Okay, so I need to, I couldn't hear y'all hardly at all, so are y'all saying that the notifications on the millage rate doesn't have to be printed a week and then have a hearing, and then another week and hearing, and this is on the millage rate?
No, not on the village rate, on the budget. I was speaking about the budget.
All right, like I said this morning, and there weren't many people here, and there's still not, but anyway, like I said, it's been printed 4 times, it's been wrong. So this actually hasn't ran any in the paper, and like I said this morning, that's Georgia law, which I can quote you, and, about the budget, I know we got it, I got questions about that, but I'm sure everybody does, but what I said this morning, doing, I mean, just for the people that weren't here, like I said, it's reported 4 times in the paper, and it was wrong. Okay, okay, if you, trying to get this right, if, like I told you, what I saw was 2 options. If you leave it at 6.806 millage rate, you know, I mean, it wouldn't be such a high jump for everybody in here. You know, it wouldn't be so bad. But if you go to the 9.2, which is what they're saying to do, that's quite a jump from 6.8 to 9.2. And, you know, and that's what I just wanted to reiterate what I said this morning. And staying with the 6.8, you're still gonna make a lot of money. There's still gonna be a lot coming in, but, and I think Brian quoted the amount, but, he might have more to say about this than me, but I still don't get the other part about it. It wouldn't be right unless the millage rate, so you're throwing yourself 6 more weeks out than what you say. If you're talking about the budget's one thing, but the millage rate's a different thing.
As I understand it, Amelia, please correct me if I'm saying this wrong. We have to have the budget approved before we can set the millage rate.
But the millage rate's been to the paper though, so I mean,
We're required to do the proposal, it's not voted, it's a proposal.
Are you saying this budget was not adopted in the June meeting?
It was.
All right, so what you're saying is now, to do budget amendments, it's got to go through this process?
No, we have to.
Because I know when I was the city clerk, that I made we were usually about 6 months into the budget. And, you know, there were areas that needed to be addressed because the auditor said you've got to stay within guidelines. And so I brought it to the council, the council approved it, and I made the budget amendments. And it was always in the minutes, and nothing ever happened. I'm just going by what was done in the past.
Right, and I don't know if in the past.
And I know Department of Revenue has updated their stuff March of 2023.
Right.
Because I was reading it, it's 23 pages long, it gives you some details.
Right. I don't know if in the past we have had hearings on budget, public hearings on the budget.
Well, you have those in June, May and June before you adopt your budget, is when you have your budget hearing. And then your budget is adopted in your June meeting, and then on July 1, that's when your new budget starts. And those figures are put into the computer, so whenever you enter all your information, it automatically reflects that.
And what we always did, we went over in January, we called all the department heads in and went where they was at. Miss Birdie, I know you don't like to hear me talk, but you're sitting up here making all these faces. But you pass these rules out about the rules of their home or whatever. But you, every time somebody speaks, you up there making faces at them.
Mr. Clifton, all due respect, this whole thing is just really tiring, so forgive me if I act like
Okay,
it's
okay.
tiring. But this is the thing, everybody's saying, when I was in City Hall, there was a lot of hiccups when you guys was here. And that was way back then. We had a new 2023, and I've said that over and over again. So what you did or didn't do back there has no bearing, you know, on what we're doing. She said at the website and update, things have changed. So
But
we got to deal with where we are today. That's all.
Okay, but you still if you approve the budget in June, and this takes effect July the 1st, if you sit down with all your department heads in January and say, this is how much money you spent out of your budget, you have this much left. And then everybody knows what's going on toward the last 6 months of the year. But
Now, we did that, you know, you set up a financial, committee.
that's right.
That was a good thing. And we worked just like that. We called in the department heads and everything. But we was already working at a deficit, Mr. Clifton. So I think we're doing pretty good where we are now.
What's the millage rate that this budget is set on? That we're holding in our hand? Is it the 6?
These numbers.
So this is the 6, so this is without an increase to 9 something, and we have a surplus of almost $300,000. If I'm just looking at those numbers, I'm looking at it out. Is that right? Talking about the $3,442,000, and then the budgeted, just those, just the difference between those two numbers is about $300,000, right?
Look at the millage and the
But this budget is done on the millage rate of 6, what it is currently. And if we don't do anything, this will go in effect. There are no more meetings, no more publishing, this is what would be in effect. Do I understand that correctly? Okay. Did everybody?
So this is not the 12.9 millage rate,
No.
because this has 369,000 as the property taxes collected. I'm sorry, what's it?
Just that is about half. So this is, so if that, this is the 6 point something. This is the budget, is on 6.
There's
So
one
no more meetings will need to be held, sorry.
Excuse me,
Go ahead, man.
on the taxes, why discuss all this on wanting to raise the yearly taxes when it comes right down to it, you all sitting up there vote on it and we have nothing to say about it. I mean, we can say whatever we want to say, but when it actually comes down to voting, y'all wanna pass it anyway. Why don't all the citizens of Reidsville that pays taxes get to vote on it? If it's gonna pass or not? I mean, that's the question I was gonna ask. And on this, the recreation department stuff, if y'all wanna cut budget, why don't y'all cut this out? And not spend as much money on this. This one here, we don't even need at the bottom. Because if it ain't for every citizen, it shouldn't be done. You got a park up here, they can go play it in. We don't need 2 or 3 little places and spend that kind of money.
Do you have children?
Do I have children?
Yes,
And I do. I drive a school bus. I consider them kids my
So you're
children.
trying to cut the funding for the kids when they don't even really have anything else except for the recreation department?
But is it actually gonna get done?
I
That's
mean,
it.
they've done a lot of upgrades there.
Y'all took the swimming, somebody took the swimming pool out here at Jack Hills and put a splash pad. What's that?
That's state.
That's funded by the state, that's funded by the state.
Recreation department.
And then, any other thing here in town, where's there any little area for them to work at or
The
play at?
issue is that there aren't parents who are actually being active with putting their children there. But there are parents who are putting their children there and they do need that resource. So I wouldn't say, cut that.
I mean, if the budget is this bad,
I mean.
and in the paper it's saying that you're cutting the employees' pays,
No,
No, we're not cutting their pay.
I don't know who said that, we're not cutting no pay.
well, then y'all need to get your newspaper straight. Yeah.
Yeah, we
That's
have a
what the
question
newspaper said.
about the revenue, that you have listed here. I don't see the local option sales tax, the LOST funds that we get every month. That's about 22,000 a month, right?
Varies much.
Yeah, so it's somewhere in there. And I don't see it there at all, so if you add that up for a year, that's another $250,000.
The loss.
Because I see the splashed in there, which is the special stuff. but I don't see the loss in there at all.
It's not in there.
And two, on the budget, excuse me, I'll say something else. And on the budget, you all, pay these city people to, clean drains. Well, when it rains a little bit, my yard is like a river because of the drain in front of my house. I have cleaned it out twice. Me, myself. And then, when you put there, it fills back up. It needs to be completely cleaned. And I don't feel like it, I mean, I do try to clean what I see of it, but I don't feel like it's my job to go out there and clean the drains for the people.
I'm just trying to figure out.
Can you give us your address and get somebody to find it?
104 Lee Circle,
What is it?
104 Lee Circle,
104 Lee.
Lee Circle, yes.
Now, I do have a question, I mean,
Yeah, I know, but it's still far.
about the at Conservancy Playground. That 17,500. Now, what improvements were made there for which one? The, at Conservancy Playground?
Okay, well, I was in charge of that part. What we did, we resurfaced the back.
I'm sorry, because
What we did, we resurfaced the basketball court because it had grass and stuff growing all in there. And then what we did, we created more parking because, there was no parking in there. So what we did, we backed up the playground part and eliminated the fencing, and built a new fence up there. So now there's adequate parking and stuff in there. And so we're getting ready to do, well, what else we do? Then we bought bleachers for the kids to sit on, and the guys that play basketball to sit on. New nets for the basketball court. Really, we upkeep the basketball court first. And we did all the stuff for the basketball court, but that was the only one in town. And on Saturdays and Sundays, the kids do use it. Okay, and then, like I said, we resurfaced the basketball court. And if you go out there, I mean, it's real nice out there. All the kids, everybody now, just ecstatic about it. And I think the more thing, we put up the new fencing in there, all the way, tore that old fencing down because it was hanging down, and the kids were climbing on it, and I hate for somebody to get smacked on it, so we put a new fencing up.
I got a question. Who's in charge of cutting the grass at the Stearns Park?
Well, actually, the rec department supposed to, but, street and lanes,
It had been cut in about 2 months.
right, they've had some sick people and they've had some shortage of help. So, but they will take care of street.
Well, I'm not finished yet, please. Then I'll get out y'all way. All right, so there's actually 2 budgets for the recreation, as far as Stearns and the rec department over here?
Well, actually, Stearns Park doesn't have a budget. We've been working from some, a grant that we received. We've been some funds to update that city park.
It should be separated then, you know, I mean, as far as that, different money, different there. It should, you know, comply under the same, whatchamacallit, you got 2 separate listings. They need to be co-headed, because and then over there, it's being delinquent. I'm telling you, and it don't look good, and then one get more money than the other. I done brought this up several times. It's not good. It's not good. Like she said, the kids over there, you know, they gotta walk through that high grass. I understand, I see what's been done out there. You know, I'm not knocking that. I see what's been done out there.
We had that issue, and I think the reason why they separated the 2 is because of that reason. One part was getting more attention than the other, and what was told to us is there wasn't enough resources to do both parts.
It shouldn't, because all the money is being allotted. When you put the recreation, that some of that money is still supposed to be allocated to that, and it's not being allocated because you put it under the same quote there, you know. So it's got to be done right, you know. And there's no basketball courts over there where they play baseball and tennis and everything else. You know, everybody don't play the same sport.
Can I ask another question? Where's
I
this
think
at?
she had her hand up first.
And were you finished, Tom?
No, I wasn't finished. So, you know, everybody don't play the same sports, and I'm not picking on nobody, it should be done right, you know, and the grass is not cut, and no bathrooms over there, so you want the kids to pee on the floor, on the ground, or whatever, it's not right, man. And then, can I finish? Can I finish?
Sir, hang on just a minute, hold on, guys,
Oh, that's okay, I was waiting.
hang on just a second, just hear me out, please. Thank you for everybody for coming, just like we said before, when a person raises their hand, please give them the respect, let everybody speak peacefully, okay? Everybody's here to voice their opinion on this, that, and the other. I'm listening, I have an opinion too, but I keep it to myself, okay? I'm here to make sure y'all can speak freely and respectfully, along with the council, so, if you're done,
I'm not done. I was still
okay,
talking.
let this man speak, and then the next question is yours, and I believe you had your hand up too, so we're gonna let this young lady.
Okay.
I
I
shouldn't have,
apologize.
right, yes, ma'am, I shouldn't have to step in, we're all in here together to make this work, we gotta work together to make this happen. So let's all do it the right way, okay, fair enough? Everybody work with me, please. All right, so sir, go ahead.
Yes, and it's a couple more things, as far as, like I said,
Will you stand up, please?
the part, I can't stand it long now.
Okay.
So that's why I'm sitting down. I'm pretty sure everybody can hear me. If not, I can yell a little bit. But here's my thing. Like I said, you can see it. Anybody can ride right now, you can see it. And over at this park, we got people come from out of town and play over there at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been out there and see it myself. They don't contribute to that park. They from Long County. They from different places. But here, our home front, where our very own kids we pay taxes to, and they got to walk in the high grass, no bathrooms or nothing. Come out there on a Saturday night and see what's going on. And they drinking beer and stuff out there. To each his own what they do, but it shouldn't be done at that park. I see it. You know, so, but they'll lock the gate over there for these kids. When they walk to that park, they'll lock the gate over there. I don't think it's right. They ain't locking no gates over here. If you out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, this park got to be shut down. It ain't right. I had kids, and I got grandkids coming up. So, I know how it feels. They're being deprived.
All right, man, go ahead.
On the recreation department budget, all of the other departments list out a salary amount budgeted for department heads and salaries, but there's nothing for the department head for the rec department. Why is that not in there? We do have a rec department head, is that right?
We do. This year I didn't do budgets, Kelly did, and that would be something that she would need to explain why it's formatted the way it is, and she's not here to speak to that, so I don't know.
I would just think that that would need to be included since it is a major expense of the rec department.
It is. And
And put out specifically since you did the other departments that way.
Sir, go ahead.
On the revenue side, just curious, on the revenue side, I don't see anything from the, spray field, and I don't see anything from the, cemetery. Each plot is cemetery on it,
right there,
spray field's on there.
Rental income.
16,322.
16,000. What about the, cemetery?
it will vary from year to year, depending on how many graves are sold.
This budget, you said is off of 6.2,
No,
or last year's budget, correct? Okay, so contractors, I don't see anything in there for contractors expense. I see a 0 on that.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes, contract labor is being cut from the budget, yeah.
So this is being cut from the budget, or is this the budget from last year?
If it's not in there, then they must not have spent.
So she's got you before you, okay? Good.
So we're budgeting, so possibility, if we pass this, we're not gonna have no contract labor. We're not gonna have no, off of this, no recreation budget in here.
That is the approved budget.
So this is the approved budget.
Of the expense numbers,
22, 23.
the expense numbers listed here from last year, which correspond to the right-hand column of last year's numbers and don't correspond to the increased budget that's there for this year. We don't have this year's numbers. So, Kevin, there might be contract numbers in there. We just don't know, because we don't have that here.
Right,
We
that's
don't
what
have
I,
last year's numbers.
so off of last year's numbers, but we still have, like she said earlier, we still have $300,000 in advance in our budget at the end of the year, is what this is saying. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's a surplus.
Surplus of $300,000, right?
Yeah, good here.
Going back to the Atkins Central Playground, I know you said that was a grant, $17,500. I think for the general public, it would be nice to see an itemized list of what that money was used for. It's not a lot of money, so it shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be just we hear what it spent for. Anything, and not just for the park, any item that has some depth to it should have, behind that an itemized list. This is a summary. And so anything can be built into a summary that the general public may not approve of. I've written grants. There's a big total, this is the top total, and then there's a detailed amount of what things go for. And this, in my opinion, some things cut it, but all things don't cut it.
I just had two questions, two comments. Permits on here, I think that should be under admin somewhere. I don't see where any permits were turned in during the year, this period here, it's not on there. And we can't keep up with taxes, what's being billed for, that's taken down, or added, or bought, if you don't issue a permit from this office. And I understand there hasn't been any issues this year either.
That's not true.
None. Well, I got it turned into the tax assessor's office this year, none.
That's not true.
Okay, well, that's what they tell me. If you wanna go talk to them, you can. And the other thing, on the first page, maybe wrong, but I thought water and sewer was a whole separate account than anything else. It's not supposed to be listed here in this total, revenue. It's supposed to have this all. Am I wrong? I don't know. Water and sewer has it on it. Oh, it's listed here, right here, under your total on the first page.
Water and sewer has its own account.
Yeah. So, a couple things that we talked about, and what Divya just let me know about also, and I was asking about the lost funds, so. As Ms. Dyer said, currently we're looking at almost a $300,000 surplus based on the numbers that are listed here. There is another number that's not listed under revenue right now, Divya just informed me, it's $240,000 for lost funds. It's local option sales tax, what that stands for, not that the funds have been lost. So if you put that 240 on top of this, now we're over $500,000 surplus at this point. And that's using, once again, the 6.806 millage rate number and not the 9.2 millage rate number. So, I mean, I look at a $500,000 surplus on a 3.15 million budget, that's about 15%. My number's right, 15-17% surplus there, which, sometimes budgets usually run about a 10% operating, overage expense. To me, it sounds like you need to keep the number at 6.806. We don't actually need to go to 9.2. If we went to 9.2, you're talking about a surplus that's gonna be over $1 million by the time you add everything up. So, not sure why, we even were looking to do this in the first place. That's what I have to say.
So the question I have is, I'm sorry.
Hang on just a second.
Your splash money ain't listed under revenue either.
Now, there's something there that,
Well, it don't say splash under revenue.
it says splash revenue 237,457.
Okay, I see it under there. I don't know, okay, I got you.
You see? All right, man, hey, you just throw your hand up real quick. I'll get you and we'll do it like that, okay? Good. Sorry.
Oh, I know that's gonna ask. Okay, so what is the goal of, what is the target number for a surplus? Well, I mean, if we're at 500, what are we looking for? I mean, neither here nor there with what your target is, but I guess that would be what would push the increase at this point, right? Or
The purpose of the increase?
what is the goal for, what is your surplus that you're wanting to have every year? Like, you don't wanna break even, I'm sure. And I'm sure surplus would help with fixing other things, but what is the goal? Like, what is the purpose? I'm not against increase, but I'm just asking what is driving it?
The goal is just to balance everything. The goal is to balance and make things right. There's a lot of things that are needed that we need a lot of change. We need technology in place. I feel like these itemized lists, the QS1 system that we're using is grossly outdated. We need to go to a system where we can push a button and be able to print anybody a list that came in this office that wants it. Whenever the lady came to look at our QS1 and how we operate the system, she said we're operating at 25% of the system. It's always been operated at 25% of the system, and it's not upgradable. So that means that when, it's just like iPhone, so you know how your iPhone upgrades, this system cannot be upgraded. So if we need to upgrade now, and there's nothing updatable. Like, we need to get time cards to do a better accountability on staff members, and those things cost. Like, even with the software we have, they have it for us to do, but we have to upgrade to that, and that costs money. Just everything. The computers, every computer in this office went down. Every computer in this office went down, and we had to have all the computers fixed. So there's things that the city needs just to operate effectively. I mean, those are little small, minute things. I can just go on and on and on and on about things that we need to be more efficient. And I mentioned this morning, you know, we do wanna get grants, but if we get grants, there's a grant match to all of that.
So you have a list of your, not yours, I do know that you found a grant match. Go ahead. So you have a list of what the city is going to do with the surplus. I think that'd be even more transparency for the citizens to know, like, because they're gonna say, oh, well, y'all got an extra $2 million this year, what you did with it, or what do you wanna do with it, you know? I'm not, if they had that, I think that would put a little more ease onto why there's an increase, you know? But I do, listen, y'all hadn't had an increase in 7 years, I think that's the craziest thing in the world. But, I mean, but that's why we're here. So, yeah, how can we lessen it up?
I was just trying to answer the question that she asked.
Well, we'll make that up to the council.
Can I respond?
Oh, yeah.
I wanna add to what Lee just said, because when you go to the sewer department, you don't know what's gonna happen from day to day. And we have a lot of old pipes in the ground, and they're showing us now that they're old. And we've had to do some emergency work, our lift stations, from day to day, you just don't know what's gonna happen, and it has been happening, so you're right.
Yeah, so, in the question that you asked about what type of surplus do you look to run, okay, so, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody in this room, okay? I do budgets for a living for my company I work for, okay? And when you're doing a budget, your budget is supposed to be, you have this much revenue, you equal this much expense. That's your budget, okay? You want a zero flow on that, okay? But then, on top of that, you can look to do, and normally what I do is a 10% overage. So I would actually put a value of 10% overage on the debit side of my column. And I would have a bucket that would say emergency funds, you know, 10%, so it balances off that way. This 10% is what, you know, as Verdi just talked about, and what, you know, Vivi is talking about. When you're lining out your budget, these are the items that you're trying to do this year. Okay, this is your expectation, what you're trying to do this year. So you don't really have well, if I have a surplus, then I try to do this. What that surplus is set to cover is those emergency things that, you know, Ms. Berger just talked about, what, you know, Vivi said. Those items that, you know, there's gonna be something, you just don't know what it's gonna be as it comes in. And usually it's 10% overage that you look to run. That's why when I was saying earlier, what we have right now, if you put the missing LOST funds in here, plus the current surplus, we're over $500,000. That $500,000 is about 17% overage. So it seems like the overage is already there that we need in order for the city to run, to not go into debt if something big happens, right? I mean, if something extraordinary happens, that's a whole other story. But if we've got to do some repairs to sewer that we don't know about up front, if we got to do some repairs to other things that we don't know about up front, you run that specific overage to be able to handle those types of items. Okay?
Okay, I just want to address the young lady. You saying that you want to know the items for the surplus for the park?
I think the public needs to know.
Okay, so, and I can understand that, and I agree totally. But if you're gonna do it on one department, let's not pick on this one department, this small department.
Totally.
Put it all out on the line, put it all out there. Because, hold on, now let me just speak now. Because just like you said, I think the whole public needs to know exactly everything. Not just, little 17,000, you're talking about 50,000, 100,000. And that would take a lot. And actually, I'm gonna be honest with you, who would actually look at all that? Who would actually look at the school?
I would.
Okay, well.
I would too.
And then that would be perfect. To find out on line 2 that we bought 14,000 screws. In line 2, we bought washers. And
You got a receipt?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to argue to nothing like that. I'm just saying, we're asking for things that is not conducive to where we're at.
It's true.
We're actually trying to get to a place, and if we're gonna start picking on little things, then we're never gonna get nowhere.
It's
never
business.
gonna get nowhere.
It's business. Even, and I'm interrupting it here, but I'm sorry, but I'm making a valuable point. Even as Nivea, and if you had listened to me, I said everything on this list that doesn't have a justification, some things do, need to be itemized or an explanation under that line item. You're in the business of, and then, like Nivea was saying, well, the computer system went out. We should have a list of projected items needed by the city. And whatever estimate they give you at that time, and you put a plus. Because when you go to purchase it, it probably is gonna be more. That's transparency. So as we look at the surplus and we look at the needs, they're gonna sort of line up. It's not gonna be exact. It's not an exact science. But we can say, yeah, I see why they do that. Yeah, that makes sense. That's all people need. We're in the 21st century. No longer are we in the dark or we're in a little church where we just throw something at the people. We're an educated society and we need more.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Ms. Jones has been over here with her hand. Go ahead.
Miss Nivea, excuse me, Miss Nivea, you were saying that there's a cost sharing involved with federal grants?
No, grants, period.
Okay, with federal grants, I know for a fact that the cost sharing can be waived. This area is extremely impoverished and needs a lot of help. If you apply for the grants and ask for a waiver, you may actually not have to pay anything. Also, there is nonprofit organization money that has no cost sharing whatsoever. They have billions of dollars they want to give to Reidsville and other places, but if the city will not engage with them and talk with them or even reply to an email, they can't give you the money. They are set up, nonprofits are set up to give away money, to give it away. They don't want anything back. They want to know what you want to use it for and how much you want. They don't need no audit. They don't need no tax. They don't need none of that. It's a lot easier to get money from a nonprofit than it is from the federal government. So number one, with a federal grant or any grant, well, with federal, I know you can ask for a waiver. And with nonprofit organizations, you just have to be willing to talk to them. I've been saying this for 3 years. Nobody listens. I'm done.
This woman back here
you're right on that. Every department that's in this right here needs to be accounted for everything they spend. If it's a box of screws, if it's a piece of plywood, if it's a pipe, toilet, or whatever, a piece of equipment, computer, it needs to be wrote down and published in the paper.
Or,
Give my observation, I know I'm a new flower in the flower bed, but listening to you guys, I agree with the totality of the thought process in the room. But as Ms. Nivea pointed out, you guys have to get it right in here first, in the workings of the city government. As the young lady over there in the corner pointed out, we're moving on, we're moving up. I think somebody said we're more educated, technology. This should be in a PowerPoint presentation, the budget, so that everybody can see in here. When we talk about itemizing what's going on in the park, I seen my brother go out and physically go in his pocket or bring in nonprofit groups, as she said, to help him with the park. Things are needed out there, like bathrooms, that we can see the need. We don't have to really itemize them there. It's not being spent. But if you go to another park, it's well facilitated. So change is coming. I see a bright future for Reidsville. You're operating in a surplus. Tell me how many city budgets and small town city budgets are operating in this crunch time, in this season, this economic, when the United States in an economic crawl, are operating in surplus. But we have to prepare now for that heavy rain. Somebody mentioned the drains. Updating computer systems, making sure that the information you want, you can see it, make sure it's properly presented, help those, and then we can get in and make it necessary. Vote, somebody said something so smart back here. Some of these things need to be put on the ballot. And that'll end all the bickering. Really, it will. Because we can sit here all day, go back and forth. But unless that vote is cast, it's just opinion, that's all. Thank you for listening. My respects to the council.
I apologize to the group if it sounded like I was bickering. I have a heavy voice. I've never been one whispering people. I can't even talk on the phone quietly. So that's just my personality. And I wasn't criticizing, like the gentleman said, it is a positive to have a surplus.
Oh, no, I was about to say you were criticizing.
I'm talking for myself. I didn't ask my opinion. Your opinion. And what I'm saying, there's always room for improvement. And we are due some improvement. There's always room for improvement. But I think the surplus is wonderful. We have come a long way. And we always got to look for ways to improve, to move forward. If not, we cease to exist.
And if I could just say, so at the 11 o'clock meeting today, we did ask the city to produce the budget for us at 6 o'clock. And thank you, Nivea, for doing that. We do appreciate that. That is the transparency that we were asking for at 11 o'clock today. So I'm sorry, somebody else said it.
I just want
I
to.
think Devin, did you have your hand up?
Hey, two things. One, to go back to what Ms. Vicky was saying earlier, you're saying from July, the new budget, or you're saying from January? No, are you asking from July that no permit's been turned into?
Don't talk to me like that, please. You know, I understand you're already, I'm just saying, you're not listed, permits aren't listed on here for any income.
Are you asking from July and been
I don't care
or
what it's
fiscal
from,
year
there's
or
not any
from
on here.
calendar year?
There's no showing where we
She
got
meant in
any
the
money
budget.
from
Right.
permits. We didn't receive it, that's what my problem was.
So,
You might have them, but they don't, that's what I'm trying to
so
say.
is that county?
Tax commissioner's
It's not
office.
in here.
She's saying tax commission.
Half the section was, I'm sorry.
tax assessor, will you, lay those back? Now, I have not, and I'll tell you, I have not taken any from July, that's why I asked. Is it from the fiscal year or from the calendar year?
From the whole year.
From the whole year, so from calendar year, from January.
Well, anyway, well, like I say, either way, there's been, you know, if you haven't submitted any, but my whole point is, it's not on here under admin, there's nothing.
The reason why I haven't supported any since July, I've only had 3.
I'm not talking about that.
And that's why, I just wanna make sure everybody understands that.
You're not here. I'm just saying, it's not listed under the admin budget permits at all. That's where you get rid of.
Right, from revenue coming in,
Yes, it's not listed.
But, so everybody, I wanna make sure everybody understands that, there's only been 3 done since July, and that was Peter, Mike, over here at El Cheapo. That was a house, that was like $65 for an addition getting built beside, the school over here, and then Farmer's Furniture had one. Now, there's been some building that's occurred that I have put notices out on, and I have followed up on to try to get their permits that do not have a permit.
Amount
Now,
of permits for the timber that's been cut over.
the city, it doesn't show anything in the city limits that has a timber permit. I've asked that, I went to the county and talked to them about that.
It is within the city, but that's okay. Just saying.
Does it say it in the charter that we gotta have a permit to touch city timber?
Supposed to, you're gonna get
It is
taxes back, you're gonna get
Does
taxes.
it say it in the charter? I'm just being honest, I mean, I'm trying to be black and white, does it say it in the charter?
You've been here about a year, so you need to read it a little bit more.
I have.
Okay, no, I'm done with you, I'm done.
So, with the permits, I mean, Ms. Snell, is it for this, you talking about the tax order, the tax assessor's office, or just for the city
Tax
assessor?
assessor's office.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm just getting clarification, I'm not going after you, I'm just asking.
It's fine with me, but I just don't like anybody to take a tone with me, but I'm just trying to ask.
No,
a question.
I'm asking you a question, I'm not.
Go ahead.
I just asked, I'm saying, so, Ms. Nail, that's between you and him, I was asking a question, I wanna know too, that's what I'm asking, I wanna know, what are you inquiring?
Well, the whole thing that I asked, it wasn't anything really about that, I just wanted to know why it wasn't on here, the permits cost money, that should be in here. There's not even a space for permits at all.
Well,
That was all I was asking.
I know, I'm asking you because I paid for a permit, that's why I'm asking you, that's why I'm asking.
You know, we should.
And I'm not going against you, making it seem like I'm coming after you, I was just asking you, because I wanna know beneficial too, why they, that's all I'm asking. Ms.
There's a
Nail.
lot of questions about this, and I don't say anything else.
And I'm not gonna change the subject. Brush removal, when you clean the yard out and put it out by the road for the big trucks to come by and pick up, why do they charge some people and some people they don't? They charge me every time, but some, of my neighbor, they don't charge.
It all depends on how much you have out.
I didn't have that much out, wasn't even pickup load.
Well, you shouldn't be charged if you don't have the bucket, they picked up on a gravel,
Okay.
you don't get charged.
Okay.
But now, you got a pretty good power, they go to the landfill, and we got.
Well, I can
Yeah.
understand that, if I have to get over truckload. And on the, part that the young man was talking about down there, that they fixed up or whatever, what are they gonna do about security? You got little children over there playing, and if there's drug addicts and drug dealers and drinking and carrying on around these children, what are they gonna do? They gonna hire somebody to stand over there and watch these children? Or these children could be hurt, so, I mean, is there gonna be security about it, or?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because before we can even entertain that, we gotta have some type of budget.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How are we gonna pay anybody? We can't even get bathrooms.
Well, here's the way you do that, listen, here's what you do there. You take all these people that owes back taxes for years and overdue water bills, that's where your money's gonna come from. Make them pay, I pay my taxes every year. I pay my taxes every year. Why is other people 7 and 8 years behind, 4 and 5 years behind, 2 years behind? Why is the water bills behind?
The answer to that question about protecting the children and the families, I don't know if anybody read the article
about the 4th of July celebration at the park. We work hand in hand with law enforcement and also concerned citizens to keep the drug dealers out, to protect the families out.
Well, this man just said you're looking the grass already.
No, but that's not, you talking grass, now, let's you talking about the drug dealers and protecting the family.
But wherever it's at, if
But
it's
what I'm
close to
saying is,
children.
I've seen him go out of his pocket and have meetings with other concerned citizens to do what you're saying, because there was no money allotted to the
And
park
like I
to do
said,
that.
why don't you make the people that owe 7
Well,
years back taxes,
that's
4 years back taxes, years and years of back taxes, and overdue water bills? Maybe they'll pay this and then y'all would have the money, is what I'm saying. I hate saying it's bad.
No, I'm
I'm just
not
saying-
responding, but I want to give you the bird's eye view, like you said, and I think that is a very valid point, but that's a council issue.
Ma'am,
You know, but I like.
we do keep the grass cut. They're just kind of behind because they had some, people out sick and different, somebody on
Right.
vacation,
I
somebody had a
understand
sick
that.
baby. But we keep the grass cut at the park, and it'll probably be done in the next few days or
But-
so. But to go back to the water bills, I was, here in 2019. We didn't know all this stuff until Jim got sick. Miss Carolyn, I explained this one time, Miss Carolyn had to become mayor before Mr. Curtis got here. That's when we realized that the city was in a mess. So when I saw, Duane wrote the, promissory note. So we have collected, I don't think I ever told you that, Duane. We've collected the majority of those behind water bills. We do have someone taking care of the taxes individually, but there were stacks of letters on desks that had gone out for taxes that had come back and nobody followed up. So I mean, we getting kind of beat up for stuff that we didn't do, but it's okay, we're here now, and we've corrected a lot of things. We had to borrow $250,000 just to make payroll. Taxes,
Okay,
but
then
I'm just
the thing
saying.
about this, and I ain't trying to argue or nothing with you, I'm just pointing something out, then, okay, if you all are that out of shape to have to borrow the money to pay payroll,
We pay
why
it
are
back.
you
We
buying
pay it
big
back.
buildings out here on 56 when you could have just tore this down over here and put a reasonable building up? Get some of the employees uptown to build it.
Ma'am,
Well, employees' loans wouldn't hold up.
I don't mean no disrespect, but everybody has the answers, but nobody's over here working out the real answers.
Well, then maybe we need somebody up there working it out.
That's okay, let me finish, please. That building had to go. I
Well,
said
he's
it-
still standing there.
It's no one's in. Let me finish if you don't mind. We contacted 3 contractors, because that's what you have to do. 1 building, 10 buildings that they needed, cost $156,000, just one, okay? We had 2 people over there that was sick. One was having headaches all the time, there was mold, you can see the mold now. Don knows, he went in there.
Okay, may I?
Mushrooms was growing up under the desk, I showed the pictures, water, it wasn't fit for a puppy to be in there now. The ladies that come to work for the city from the detention center wouldn't even use the bathroom over there. I didn't even wanna look at it. So I'm saying, what I'm
All
saying,
due respect in yours, why didn't, when the windows was busted out, why didn't they start fixing it up when stuff started happening, and then it wouldn't have been that way?
ma'am, you've heard some things that are not even correct. These are good guys and they maintain what they can, but anything gets old, it's time to change, you know?
Yeah.
And it's got mold in it now, it's raining.
Well,
in it.
they good paint jobs, and new windows, and new
Okay.
grills.
Okay.
Sounds like a citizen advisory board needs to be put together
To work with.
Not if they gonna argue and not
Right, no, I
understand
But
what
as I
we're
said, a
saying.
workshop. What we did
Committee.
is what we did in our town. We adopted, so that meetings like this don't get taken up on these types of issues. You get a citizen advisory team, you put them together, they will meet and have workshops, and like she said, not to argue, let's walk out the building with a solution. And I'm sure we all can agree to disagree, but we all can come together and agree on the important issues. cause I guarantee you, change is coming, Reidsville will grow. But like in our city, in our hometown, 70% of the crime, and I think somebody mentioned that, is perpetrated by folks that live outside of your city. You don't, and right now you're on the cusp of building those walls of Jericho. And that should be the main thing, not cutting recreation. Give your kids something to do, give your parents outlets. Let's come together, find out what to do with the surplus. But to address the personal needs like the young lady had, that's a valid point. We have a municipal LPUA. They do not play. Period. They will work with you, they will give you notices, but as she said, you don't pay it, it's cut off. And then the permits roll out, you gotta move. You gotta get, but this only stuff that the council, I'm just hearing, I just keep hearing. Advisory board, citizen advisory board.
Well, that's what we did with the water. We started cutting them off. And again, I repeat it. You got a promissory note. If you owe $100 on your past bill, your current bill is $50, you got to pay $50 plus 100 plus 50. Or else your water get cut off. You got to go through that whole reconnection fee and everything. Am I right? There you go. And so that is included.
To helping you folks with the water bill.
Devin had a question.
Miss Lily, just, and I want to first say, I'm sorry, Miss Vicky, I wasn't trying to throw at you, I really wasn't. I just, cause on the line 2, under revenue, it says $54,133. Am I reading it right? It says business license and permits? Is that considered building permits as well?
Where you looking
The second page, second line under revenue, from 2023 to 2024, said, revenue, property taxes, and business license and permits, $54,133.
Okay, that's next year's budget.
That's project, no, that was going off of 6.2, what we just come from, right? And that what we said earlier, that was come off, cause I made that was clear, that this was last year's budget, we was at $300,000 in advance, right? We had $300,000 left over, correct?
That's the 23-24 budget, that's the new budget.
But they are adopted from last year, right? Same
Right.
exact
Right.
thing,
Right.
same exact,
Right.
they just moved the numbers over from last year to this year, right?
Yes.
So it is in there.
Yes.
Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Okay, alright, so I just wanted to make sure, and I ain't trying, I just wanna make sure everybody in here see what we're talking about. Because I agree with you on a lot of things, I agree with them on some things, I ain't neutral as they come. And I tell them that, and so don't think that I don't. Just like you're talking about property taxes, I'll be the first one to say, if you lay on your property taxes, you should be on the courthouse steps. Period.
No matter who you are.
No matter who you are. If you're out on the property tax, you should be at the courthouse steps, and we should be starting, and I see you shaking your head, but I also saw you buying property at the courthouse in the county for people that didn't pay their taxes.
I'm not shaking my head, but but you said,
So I agree with certain things, and I agree with bringing money into the city, but we all gotta get along, we gotta work out our differences, and we can all talk in here all day long till we're blue in our face. And like somebody said a while ago, they're gonna vote on what they wanna vote on.
You finished, Devin, or you?
Just a question on this, so, Bertie, if I understood you right, you said a new metal building, had y'all torn that down, would have been around $156,000. To deal with. Okay, so, my question is this though, so we bought the property out off of 56. What, right? How much is that? And what is the payment on that per month? Is that in this budget? And if it is, I may have overlooked it, but where is it at?
It's in the ARPA budget.
It's in the what?
It's in the ARPA budget. It wasn't ARPA.
American Rescue.
Way there.
Plan.
That's the 362,
It wasn't bought out of the regular.
The code.
So it's paid for?
No.
It's allocated.
It's allocated.
The ARPA.
Yes.
I just got, like the building, since we're talking about the building, I think that we really got to look at it like this. To tearing that building down with all those chemicals, no, I'm just saying, to tear that.
And I was not asking that, my main question was it in this budget for that new?
Yeah, that's why I wasn't talking to you, I'm just bringing it up because people want to know. In order to tear that building down with chemicals and molds and stuff like that, that's gonna cost a lot of money. That's why whoever buys it.
I'll wait till you get that on.
Okay.
Miss Susan's next, and then.
Whoever buys that building, if they decide to sell that building, is gonna spend a lot of money just to get permits and stuff, just to tear it down. And then, when you spend money to tear it down, cause you got to cover it, make sure the mold and stuff don't poop through the air. Right, right. So then, after that, now you gotta clear it. Then after you clear it, now you're talking about building. Because you got to cure that land, that you just can't, you know what I'm talking about? You just can't put a building there, you gotta cure that land. So now you gotta pay for that. And then after that, then you gotta get the permit and stuff to come up with. So, I don't know whether it would be cheaper or not, but I just think that at that point, something had to get done. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm saying, on that, when you tear down the building, somebody's gonna have to do it anyway because it's dangerous to the citizen that lives around it if it's that bad.
And that's what we say, I think they're gonna auction it off.
We have.
So you all are gonna sell something that dangerous to a citizen?
We are in the process, we've got 3 bids with this for testing for asbestos, mold, lead paint to see what we find in there. And I don't think we're gonna find a huge amount of asbestos, lead paint maybe. That test is gonna range anywhere from 1,400 to right at 2,000. So we'll know from that point what's in the building and what needs to be done. And if someone purchases that property, then they'll be with that disclosure of what water and what's in there, basically, being contaminated.
Well, I've been sitting here looking at the budget, and the front page says 2023, 24 budget. The second page says revenue, 23, 24, and then the rest of the budget is 22, 23.
I have one question, and I'll leave it. Will you be?
No, ma'am, go.
Does each department submit like a monthly, expenditure report? You have a great day.
Not every month, they do report, not every month.
I worked in the state government for 30 years. And you have to do that, even from the car that you drove to your mouth, to lunches that you had. This is crazy. And it's not your fault.
No, it's never been that way, so it's.
I know, but y'all might think a start in that.
We're trying to straighten
Yeah,
that.
take a start in that. Then you wouldn't have, if a permit or something was left off, not picking on him, but if something was omitted, you know, cause I could look at something and make a mistake. But then if I'm double looking at the next month, it might catch me, and I can roll over to
Let me answer your question correctly. Can we do a expenditure report monthly? Yes, we can, but your question was.
For each department?
Yes, but the departments do not submit it to us, like, say if a department, water sewer wants to get something, then we check their budget, we're on the budget, like, we spent that much there, or, you know, I spent this department, and then just there, and that's how.
I want to say that the monthly expenditure, you're talking about a budget and you're looking at your actual what they spent for that month. And it's not due in that month, you can say 10 days after the month, the report is due. If they're out of town, you give them to the 20th. But that report should be submitted for every department. When you get to the 12th month, you have a report for that whole department.